Om Jnanatimandasya Garanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes for the shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita. From chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. Text number 30. So just a little recap on last week, text 29. So the verse said, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So this may sound like a bit of a contradiction here. He's saying that he's equal to everyone, samoham sarvabhutesu. And that's easy to understand why God is equal to everyone, because he's the father of all living entities. So just like, the parents, they love all their children, even if they had 10 children, like in the old days, quite often big families, and they might have 10 kids or even more than that. And the kids are different ages, of course, and some are more intelligent, some less intelligent, some more stronger, some less stronger, some healthier, some sick, whatever. Even some might be retarded or something, like intellectually handicapped or physically handicapped. But the parents love all the kids equally. It doesn't matter, whether they're smart or dumb or handicapped or fit or whatever like that. Naturally they're the children. So the parents love all the children, and so that's easy to understand. Where God's saying he's equal to everyone. He's not envious of anyone, and he's not a special. He doesn't have like special friends and then enemies like that. So he doesn't see, because this is in material consciousness, often we have a political mentality. What is a political mentality? It means you make groups of friends and groups of enemies. It's that you have that dualistic vision of saying these are my friends. Well, who are our friends? And materially speaking, those persons that help us in our sense gratification. Does that make sense? So those persons that help us to gratify our senses, enjoy our body, enjoy our senses, there we call them friends. And those that interfere or an obstacle for our happiness, for our enjoyment, then we call them our enemies. And what do we do with our friends? With the help of our friends, we push down our enemies, isn't it? With our friends, we help to get rid of our enemies, remove our enemies. And that's what we call friends, like that. And of course, following on with that conclusion, what happens if one of your friends does something that annoys you or, goes against your happiness, your enjoyment? They might get swapped over into a group of your enemies, right? And we even have that. We call that love-hate relationship, right? I love you. I love you. I can't live without you. You're my life and soul. And then as soon as they do something that just annoys you, I hate you. I never want to see your face again. Get lost, don't come near me and all this kind of. So we can even see those changes take place, isn't it? That between friends and enemies and like that. But Krishna doesn't have that. God doesn't have that. He doesn't have groups of friends that help him to enjoy more And, you know, because he's self-sufficient, he doesn't need anyone for him. He's enjoying within himself. And then he doesn't have any particular enemies. And that doesn't mean that no one sees him as an enemy, isn't it? We see, even when Krishna was present on this earth 5,000 years ago, Krishna had heaps of people that saw Krishna as their enemy, isn't it? Krishna was being attacked nearly every day in Vrindavan. Someone was coming to kill Krishna nearly every day. Nearly every day. Some days there would be 2 or more demons. Normally they were all Kamsa's friends. Here we go, see? Kamsa had his friends, who are other demons, who would help Kamsa in his mission. What was his mission? Kamsa's mission was to find the person that was predicted was predicted to kill him. It was predicted that the 8th child of his sister Devaki would kill him. That was the prediction. There was an unseen voice in the sky that said, Kamsa, what a fool you are. Because on the wedding day of his sister Devaki, he was taking Devaki and Vasudev, his brother-in-law, to Vasudev's house. And then there was a voice from the sky said, oh, what a fool you are, Kamsa. You don't realize, you know, that Devaki's 8th child is going to kill you. So from then on, then that 8th child became his enemy. You know, so he got all of his friends like Agasura and Putana and Vakasura, Dantavakra, you know, Chanura, Mustaka, you know, the list goes on, you know, hundreds and hundreds of demons. And they were coming to Vrindavan nearly every day. And then when Krishna went to Mathura also to deal with Kamsa, then so many people were attacking him there. So many demons were attacking him. So heaps of people might see God as their enemy. And people say that, right? Like atheists, right? Oh, there is no God. Oh, God is dead. Or we're all God. You know, Krishna's not God. You know, say he's God and she's God, but not Krishna. So they're just so envious of Krishna, they'll never accept that Krishna's God. They're happy to accept anyone else as God, but not Krishna like that. So people are so envious of Krishna and, you know, and hate God and everything like that. And but Krishna doesn't hate them. Krishna doesn't hate them. But then oh no. Oh, here he is. Gulshan's coming. But then there it is. But then you might say, well, but Krishna killed so many. So that means Krishna saw them as an enemy. Hare Krishna, Gulshan. Welcome.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, but then people might say, but Krishna, he killed so many. He killed so many of these demons. So he must be envious of them. He must hate them. No, he didn't, because what was the result of every single person that Krishna killed? All these demons that hated Krishna, and Krishna killed them. What was the ultimate result of all those persons that were killed by Krishna?
They went to the Bhagavad Dham.
Huh?
They went to the Bhagavad Dham because Krishna killed them.
And then they got
Went to where? Went to where?
Bhagavad Dham. Bhagavad Dham.
Bhagavatam.
Bhagavad Dham.
Oh, Bhagavad Dham. Yeah, okay, yeah. So Bhagavad Dham, so the spiritual world where God lives. So yeah, that's right. They got liberated. So
question.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. Didn't they just get that? Is it Sayujya Mukti? Not.
Yeah. So most of the demons went to the Brahmajyoti, the spiritual light. But that's also Bhagavad Dham. That's also the spiritual world. That's also the spiritual world. but not, not getting Krishna's personal association. Like when a devotee gets liberated, they get to become a personal associate of Krishna. So you be a coward boy or a coward girl or a cow or a peacock or whatever in Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world. So the demons don't get that good fortune. They may just merge in Brahmajyoti, but that's still Krishna has uplifted them from their demoniac mentality, so they get freed from all their lust and greed and anger and envy and pride and madness and everything. They get liberated from all those material qualities and they enter into this eternal spiritual sky like that. However, there was some demons that actually did go to Goloka Vrindavan too. So one of them was Putana. So because she offered her breast milk to baby Krishna. Krishna then, because she was treating Krishna like a mother, so Krishna reciprocated with her. Okay, she's dealing like my mother, so I'll make her a nurse mother in Goloka Vrindavan. So she became an assistant to Mother Yashoda in the spiritual world. So how kind. There's no one more kind than God. Then even if you hate God and you want to kill God, but Krishna just blesses you. Krishna blesses you. And I've been learning the 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna. That's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna has unlimited qualities, but 64 main ones are mentioned. So one of those qualities is described as Hatari Gati Dayaka. Hatari Gati Dayaka. That Hatari means those enemies. So enemies, and then Gati means, so kills his enemies, means Hatari kills his enemies. But Gati means destination and Dayaka means merciful. So even the enemies he kills, they get a very merciful destination, a very merciful result. Basically, they get liberated from all suffering in the material world and either go into the Brahmajyoti or into a spiritual planet like that. So no one is more kind than Krishna. Krishna is so kind. He even gives liberation to his enemies. One time in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, there was
Somebody else.
someone else. Who else is there?
Krishna.
Oh no, Deepa's already there. Why is it saying there? Oh, Deepa, I can't hear you, Deepa. Your mic is off. Can't
I
hear
have
you.
a new a laptop which I need
Oh,
to. Yeah, so I was troubleshooting and I connected. So I'll leave
Okay.
the desktop and I'll join the from the laptop.
Maybe
We thought
I
you'd
think,
expanded into two. We saw another Deepa.
No. Krishna
Okay.
wants to. Krishna want to hear his own glory.
Oh, what happened?
No,
Now
you have
she's
to allow
vanished.
her in.
Huh?
Allow
I
Deepa.
have. Admitting, yeah, I have. Oh, this is confusing. Okay, I think something should happen.
It's giving a message here saying guests are waiting to join.
Yeah, I've got admitting.
Okay, it's gone.
I did it, pushed admitting, and then something disappeared. Anyway, let's see if she pops up again. There's nothing there now. So anyway, there was this great there was a devotee, Mukunda. Mukunda mentioned there's a great devotee that's come to town named. He mentioned it to Gadadhar Pandit. So this one of Lord Chaitanya's close associates on the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So Gadadhar, actually an incarnation of Radharani. So Radharani in Chaitanya Leela became Gadadhar Pandit. Okay, here she comes. Okay. Are you there, Deepa?
I am. I am.
Yeah, I can see.
Are you playing the hide and seek, Deepa?
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
like hide and seek with us.
Sorry.
So, yeah, so Mukunda mentioned to Gadadhar, this is 500 years ago, two great associates of Lord Chaitanya, that there's a great devotee come to town, Mukunda was telling Gadadhar, named Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And he's such a pure devotee. He's such a pure devotee. You'll love to see him. So Gadadhar was really excited. And so they went to see him. He had was living in like some palatial building, and he was reclined like on a really soft couch, and he had really fancy clothes on, like all silk, and he had jewelry and everything, necklaces, pearls, or whatever like that. And he had long hair, and it was all very slick from being very oiled hair. So, and he had people fanning him, and he was smoking like a hookah or something, like a big pipe. So Gadadhar Pandit took one look at him, and in his mind he was thinking, what? This doesn't look like a devotee. This can't be a devotee. This is a sense enjoyer. We call it a Visai. Visai means a real sense enjoyer, gratifying the senses. And Mukunda looked at his friend Gadadhar, could see what he was thinking. That he's got some doubts that he's thinking this is not a pure devotee. So Mukunda recited one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam about how Krishna gave liberation to Putana, the demon Putana. That even though Putana came to kill Krishna with poison, smeared poison on her breast to kill Krishna, but the end result was that Krishna gave her the topmost position in the spiritual world of being one of Mother Yashoda's personal assistants. And the verse says, how merciful is Krishna? And there's no one more merciful than Krishna. So Mukunda sung, and Mukunda has a very sweet voice. So he sung that Sanskrit verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And when that verse entered the ears of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he completely lost it. He smashed all the things on his bedside table. He pulled all his jewelry off. He just was shouting and screaming, all about, who's more merciful than Krishna? There's no one more merciful than Krishna. And he was like rolling on the ground and frothing at the mouth, and tears were pouring out of his eyes. And then Gadadhar went, wow, oh my God, he is a pure devotee. And then he felt really bad. I'd actually made an offense to him by thinking that he's a materialistic person. I was so wrong, but I've offended him. And he thought that there's only one way I can counteract my offense to this great soul, and that I have to surrender to him and become his disciple. So Gadadhar surrendered to Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi accepted him as a spiritual master. So, but yeah, and that was just hearing.
It's said, right, that Pundarik Vidyanidhi is actually Vrishabhanu, Radharani's father.
Yeah. So it's actually Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Radharani's father in the spiritual world. And remember I said Gadadhar is Radharani. So yeah, connected up again. But yeah, very instructive pastime. But yeah, Krishna's so kind. Even his enemies, he's not envious of them at all. He's not envious of them at all. In fact, he's the real well-wisher. He's the well-wisher of everyone, even his so-called enemies. So
You know how you were saying, like, in the material world, we have this camp of enemies and friends. But I was just thinking, I guess I'm just thinking out loud. in terms of, even in devotee circles, the scriptures say we should actually associate it with like-minded people. Okay, so yeah, there's like-minded people, and then even though we as devotees are always trying to be respectful of each other, there are instances where you see that there are other devotees who have or probably even I have, where I don't like another person or something. I'm not thinking of them as my enemy, but like you said, they do obnoxious things and they just drive you up the wall. So, I mean, and it's also said that it's better that you don't associate with those kind of people. So how do you understand that as being different from the material world thing then? I mean, I guess there is some differences, but even then again, then you're not being equal to everybody, right?
Well, the pure devotee of Krishna is supposed to have the same quality that Krishna has, of being equal to all the living entities, and that's mentioned as a quality of a devotee, being friendly to all living entities, and equipoised, equal to all living entities. So Maitra Karuna Evacha in the 12th chapter is a kind friend to all the living entities. And what's that verse? Tatiksava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam. Surida Sarvadehinam. So friendly to all living entities, all embodied. And that doesn't mean just to human beings. All living entities, kind friend to all living entities, meaning even the animals and the birds and the everything, plants. And one time a devotee was walking on the grass. And Prabhupada said, don't walk on the grass, you're hurting it. Can you believe it? He said, walk on the path, because, they were walking on a path. So Prabhupada was walking on the path, and this devotee was walking on the grass, and Prabhupada stopped him, said, don't walk on the grass, you're hurting the grass. Because, you're standing on the grass, right? So, wow, what kind of consciousness is that? We never think about that, isn't it? That, oh, you're hurting the grass. But Prabhupada was even being kind to the grass.
Well, I
What
say
to speak
sorry
of.
when I walk on the grass.
Yeah, okay. Jayanti's very elevated. She's more elevated than us.
But
No,
then
it's
if you breathe, you are inhaling that some of the insect, whatever, you can't even see that. So
I know you
mean
can't avoid
stop
it, but
breathing that.
yeah. So the point is, there's some things you can't avoid, but as much as you can, like you can avoid walking on the grass, right? If there's a footpath there. So that's something you can avoid. You can't avoid breathing in bugs or eating something. You have to eat something.
Even if you're gardening, you kill how many,
I know. I
insects
do
and,
gardening all the time. Like today I actually cut the grass.
Oh.
So, but the thing is, you don't enjoy doing that. It's just the duty. So you do it as a duty. You do it as a duty. And like, there was like the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I just heard Prabhupada talk about it today. George Harrison donated the Bhaktivedanta Manor in London, outside of London. And Prabhupada wanted it to be maintained. He didn't want it just to become a pile of weeds around the mansion. So, he wanted them to cut the grass like that. So the point is, you do what you have to do, but if you have a choice, you try to take the least, harmful, destructive, path that you can. If there's a footpath there, you'll walk on that instead of walking on the grass.
If there is a devotee in Siberia where there's snow all year around, he can't grow anything. He has to eat the fish or reindeer or something.
No, I mean, the way they do it in those countries, I mean, because it's not snow all year round. So in the growing season in summer, they'll grow their potatoes and their wheat and that. Actually, like Ukraine and Russia is one of the biggest producers of wheat and other grains on the world. They export. They export. Actually, they were worried with this war in Ukraine and Russia. They were worried that the price of wheat would go up because if Ukraine couldn't export the wheat in that, then it's going to affect the global supply of wheat and push the price up. So actually in the summertime, they grow a lot of crops. And the winter, it's snow, like what you say, it's snow. So then, but then you eat the stock of things that you grew in the summer. So that's what countries do that have a cold winter. They just produce in the summertime, and then they store all their carrots and their potatoes and their grains and stuff like that, and eat it in the cold season. So there's all ways around it. But yeah, so devotees. So Jayanti's question, yeah. So actually, I mean, there might be, devotees that treat us badly. So there's no, I mean, that's quite common, may happen. But the real question is how do you respond to that? Do you reciprocate by treating them badly? Actually, if we're trying to act as a devotee, no. Actually, we shouldn't, we should just, like Jayanti mentioned, we should avoid their association, If some devotees mention if they don't have good behavior, then we just avoid them. And you can pray for them, pray to Krishna that Krishna can help them to improve like that. But if a devotee doesn't have very good behavior, devotee means, they're chanting Hare Krishna and serving Krishna or whatever. So they're a devotee, but some devotees like the Kanistha Adhikari, still have materialistic tendencies, not a very advanced devotee, not Madhyama Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari, higher devotees, but Kanistha Adhikari still, fighting with, bad habits and that from the past and so forth, but trying to be Krishna conscious. So, if they don't have very good behavior and like that, then you may just avoid their association, but we shouldn't hate them. We shouldn't hate them. Even in the Bible, Jesus said apparently, hate the sin, but not the sinner. Hate the sin and not the sinner. Do you get the difference? Do you understand the difference between the sin and the sinner? So he said, hate the sin, not the sinner. Because who is the sinner?
One who's in ignorance.
The person.
Ultimately, who is the sinner?
The person who did the sinful act.
Okay, but who's within the person that did the sinful act?
The soul.
Okay, is the soul intrinsically, fundamentally deep down evil or bad or sinful?
No.
Deep down, every soul is a pure soul. Deep
Yeah.
down, every soul is a pure soul that has
he
love for Krishna.
He uses free will to do that.
Well, he's misused his free will, obviously. That's why he's come to the material world, like we all have. We if we're here in the material world, here on Teams, then if you see whoever you see on Teams means they've misused their free choice and come to the material world. So we've all done that. So, but deep down, we're all pure spirit soul. But just we've misused the free choice, and we've been associating with the lower modes of material nature, means with tamagun and rajagun, with the mode of ignorance and passion. And because of that wrong association with ignorance and passion, therefore we've developed like lust and greed and anger and so forth. Like if you associate with the mode of ignorance, you're going to end up, what's some symptoms of that? Anger, right? Too much sleep, laziness, like that. If you associate with the mode of passion, what's some symptoms of you have been associating with the mode of passion? Lust, greed, these kind of things. Too many material desires, like that, and greediness, like that. So, but the soul is pure. But just because we've been associating with Maya, we've developed these bad qualities. So it's actually not the soul itself that's bad. It's just our association is not good. So yeah, we don't like what those external features that are being demonstrated, like, the person's lying or cheating or angry, or they're killing animals or drinking beer, or like, one of my neighbors, he's a really bad alcoholic, but I don't hate him. I don't associate him with very much at all, except to give him some halava, which he likes halava. So, but apart from that, I don't associate with him, but I don't hate him. He has very bad behavior. He lives like worse than a pig. A pig is cleaner. He lives amongst a pile of tin cans and beer cans and so many things. And so he is very bad.
But the thing is, how do you say it's a bad? Like, who give you authority to say he's bad? How do you judge it?
No, we
It's
can
only-
judge what's good and bad. That's easy because it's mentioned in the scriptures what are pious activities,
okay.
what are sinful activities. And it's mentioned, for example, there's a verse, I can send you the verse later on in the first canto, which says what the four sinful activities are. Striyam, Panam, Dutam, I can't remember the other Sanskrit word, but it tells, that
Really? Okay.
illicit sex, shuna means meat eating, animal killing, shuna, animal killing, Pana means drinking liquor, alcohol, and like that. So, and gambling. So it mentions the four sinful activities. So that's not hard to figure out what's sinful and what's pious, what's good, what's bad. That's easy. But so we can see that this person is doing sinful activities, and we don't like those sinful activities. But even though we don't like the sinful activities, it doesn't mean we don't like the soul inside that person that's committing sinful activities. See what I'm saying? You have to separate the soul and the sinful activities that are being performed. They're actually separate. Temporarily, due to association with Maya, these sinful activities are being performed, but actually that doesn't change that soul within it all. That soul within is actually just sleeping in Maya. So it's actually what's working, what's acting is only the gunas, only the modes are working, not the soul. The soul's like asleep, and just
Even
the
if
modes
we,
of material. What's that?
even though with devotees and things like that, if we separate the bad behavior and we see, obviously that soul's not a bad person, they're serving Krishna and all that sort of thing, we still need to protect ourselves as well, just like from bad association, really.
Yeah. I mean,
we still,
yeah.
like, even if we can see from that sort of way, like sort of like Jayanti was saying, you still sort of, you shouldn't, you're allowed to distance yourself from some devotees who might be following all the regulations and they're serving and all that sort of thing, but they might have qualities that just clash with yours. So,
course. Yep.
we sort of,
So,
you can still separate yourself, but not
of
have
course. So
that
that's why I'm
have that hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not hating somebody
Yeah, not
like
hate.
an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I mentioned before, is not associate. So that's the recommendation. So they have lower qualities that don't mix with your qualities, and then you don't associate. And that's natural. Like, you're trying to cultivate the mode of goodness. It's not going to be compatible to associate with someone that's cultivating, the mode of ignorance and passion, tamagun, rajagun. It's not gonna mix. And I mean, I had a drunk come in the property and act in a very threatening way, and I actually beat him with a bamboo stick, and he went away. But you can say, do I hate the guy because I beat him with a bamboo stick? No, I don't hate him. I dealt with him in that way because that was the best way to deal with him, and that when he was drunk and coming in here at night and threatening, me and not going away when I told him to go away. So I had to deal with him in that way. But does that mean I hate him? No, I don't hate him. And I've forgiven him for that. And I don't think of any bad thoughts about him in my heart. I don't hold any grudges against him. And I was just doing my duty to, protect this place and everything like that and ourselves. So there's a difference there, but
can I just ask, elaborate, for some clarification, elaborate a little bit on this. Actually, just today I became aware. I mean, it's just I mean, we're all, I mean, I don't know, but devotees, and a senior devotee, I don't know. In my mind, I'm feeling that a senior devotee should be an example and try to help, or to guide or model, like, so that the up and coming junior devotees can become better, rather, like, to be able to coach and to guide them and to be still supportive to them, rather than distance or disassociate from them because they are not at the same level, type of thing. I don't know. I'm coming from me as a person. I would do as I'm saying. Not I would find it very disturbing if I mean, unless there's really some differences, and then we might disassociate, but otherwise I would try to help them become better, not to because I just today, actually, I come to know of someone where a senior devotee and a slightly a more junior devotee, and they've it's kind of parted ways, and they're no longer associating with each other, and I feel like it's a bit sad. It's like leaving your child out on the street because he's not yet able to take care of himself or something like that, along those lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of different factors, and one is that, say a devotee's having some problems and they're demonstrating bad behavior. So other devotees that are senior to them can help them, right? But if you're junior to them, you can't help them if you're junior to them, right? But so someone on their level or on a higher level.
Not junior helping senior. It's the senior devotee has, it's like chosen not to to sort of break away from the junior devotee, because the junior devotee is apparently not good enough. I don't know. I mean, it seems a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't tell about specifics. I can't tell about specifics.
Give it a scenario, Deepa. Give it.
But no, we don't have to get into details. So we don't want to get really personal.
Yeah.
No, it's confidential, I'm sure, as well. So, There's no need to get into details, but we're just talking about basic principles. But yeah, if you think that, you know, associating with a particular person who's displaying, you know, lower qualities and ignorance and passion, if you feel it's affecting your own Krishna consciousness, it's not worth risking that. But if you're very fixed up in your Krishna consciousness and you can go out and help these people that are, you know, struggling or whatever, that's very good. But not if it's at the expense of messing up your own, you know, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, or whatever. Then it's not worth it, because, you know, they're already sinking. There's no point you sinking as well. You know, so there's a saying, right? If you want to catch a big fish, you have to first of all be careful you don't get wet. You know, because if you're a fisherman on the boat, there's two ways it can go. Either you pull the fish in the boat, or the fish will pull you into the water. So, you know, before you try to pull in the fish, you have to be sure, are you capable of doing that? Are you strong enough to do that? I mean, Prabhupada could uplift all the hippies, and I tell you, the hippies demonstrated a lot of, you know, sinful behavior. They were pretty much all having illicit sex and taking intoxication, and you know, many of them meat eating also. But Prabhupada was strong that he could lift up hundreds of them, thousands of them. That's no problem. But yeah, if we're just a struggling devotee, then you know, that might not be, you know, a good thing to do. So we have to see, you know, how mature and strong the person is and like that. And
talked about before, hey, the different types of friendships. Like if somebody's senior to you, then you take instruction from them, and if somebody's on the same level as you, then it's like a friendship sharing. And then if somebody's lower than you, then you help them. Like, is that right? You've talked about that before.
So generally, you know, you help the lower ones, you know. You don't help the ones more advanced than you. They're helping you, you know, so like that. But yeah, it can be that you see a more advanced devotees having some trouble. So you're going to go and help them, then you probably won't be able to. What you can do though, say like, for example, say I see a sannyasi is not chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra properly, right? Say in the Japa time, Mongla after Monglarity, I see the sannyasi, Prabhupada disciple, is not chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra properly. What do? Go up to them and say, oh, I'd like to help you to chant Hare Krishna better. You could, but it probably wouldn't work too well, because they're thinking, who are you? You're just a junior nobody. I mean, they shouldn't think like that, but they might think like that. But what you can do is go to another senior devotee and say, oh, Maharaj, I noticed that this other Maharaj is not chanting properly, or they're sleeping while they're chanting or whatever. You know, I'm just letting you know that if you can help them in some way, you know, please do. Like that. So there's ways you can do it. You've got to follow the etiquette. So there's particular etiquette, means there's rules and how you associate like that with other devotees or with other living entities. So we want to do it following the rules, because if we don't follow those guidelines, it might not produce a good result. Like I said, if you go up to a senior devotee saying, hey, you're not chanting properly, it probably won't have a good result, because they're thinking, oh, you're junior, I'm senior to you, like that. Who are you to tell me to do something or whatever, blah, 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 like that. So it might not have a good result. But if someone's equal to or senior to them tells them, then they might take it in a more positive way. And the main thing is you have the good result, right? That you actually, the person gets benefited. So whatever it takes. So, but we want to follow the rules to do that. And you know, even in this Bhagavad Gita, right? After this conversation took place, Arjuna, he changed his mind from not fighting, which was in the beginning, to fighting. So then after this, the fight takes place, 18 days, the battle takes place. It's fascinating, even if you look at the Mahabharata, how they would operate completely different than modern day society. So it's a war going on, right? So they would fight to the best of their ability during the daytime. But do you know what they would do at night? When the sun goes down, the fighting stops. You might be in the middle of a fight with someone, and you just want to finish them off. But the sun goes down, everyone puts down their weapons because that's the rule. That's the etiquette, And after the sun goes down, do you know how do they deal with each other? Do you know? Do they go around the camp and wait till they go to sleep and like cut their head off with a sword or something?
They don't treat as an enemy after that.
Yeah, after dark, they go over to the other side's camp and have a good time together. And they treat each other, like friends. And they'll eat together and drink together and everything like that, socialize like that. And when the sun comes up, it's back to trying to kill them. So we can't understand that. It's just duty. So you just do your duty. Like, I had the drunk come in the property. My duty is to protect my wife and this body and this property, Krishna's temple, like that. So that's my duty. So, but you don't want to take it into the next step where I hate these people or blah, 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 blah. No, it's not like that. You're just doing your duty. So you in a very detached way. So you just follow the rules like that. And it's fascinating if you look into the culture. Incredible. So they very enthusiastically fighting in the daytime, trying to kill the enemy.
Parliament. Same thing happened in the parliament as well. Both party, after the session finished, they're having a coffee together. Even the two lawyers, they are fighting in the courtroom, and after that, they just having a meal together.
Right. Yeah. So that's a similar kind of principle. But see, the thing is, so why don't we want to carry this hate and grudges and stuff like that? Why should we forgive? So what's a disadvantage? Forget about the other person for a minute. What's a disadvantage for us to carry grudges in our heart that I don't like this person, or I hate this person?
Come back.
It's
karma.
like
Karma.
It lowers our energy, level to lower energies, and we karma. That's right. Yeah.
It's like a kind of a weed coming out of the tulsi. We have a tulsi looking after, and the weeds coming out, and we're not taking the weeds out.
Yeah.
I'd have to come back again though, as well, if we're still holding on to it and deal with it in another life.
Yeah. So that's like Jayanti was saying, like that. So like Prabhupada said, for example, that if the Hindu hates the Muslims, then they'll take birth as a Muslim. And the Muslim hates the Hindu, will take birth as a Hindu. So if you're always thinking about that person, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them, then you actually become like them in the next life, because that's what you're thinking about. It goes both ways. Whatever you're attached to, that's what you get, right? So I love this woman, I love this woman, I love this woman, and then you die, and then you take birth as a woman. Or if it's I hate this man, I hate this man, I hate this man, then you're always thinking about him, or you become that man. Like that, not that man, but a man, man's body like that. So whatever you like or you don't like, that's what you're thinking about, right? If you like something, that means you're thinking about that thing that you like. And if you don't like something or you hate something, that means you're also thinking about that. So how do you deal with that if you want to be Krishna conscious? You don't think about it. So it means you're not liking and you're not disliking. You don't love and you don't hate. As soon as you get into this, I like, I don't like, I love this, I hate this, I'm attached to this, I'm repulsed by this, those dualities, as soon as you get in those dualities, that locks you in to another birth, to taking birth again, like that.
Is it time the death or any time?
Well, you're having those thoughts run through your brain, right? You're thinking about, and then at a certain point you're going to die. And then your whole life is flashed back at that time of death, and is filled up. Your mind, your whole life was filled up with I like this and that, and I hate this and that. So then you're going to have to take birth again, according to that particular, mentality of things you're attached to, things you hated, like that. It's not a matter of whether you like it or you don't like it. It's a matter of whatever you like or whatever you don't like, you're thinking about it. It's where your mind is. That's the main thing. We should have our mind always with Krishna. What does Krishna like? What does Krishna not like? This is what we should be thinking about. How can I please Krishna? I don't want to make Krishna unhappy. I want to make Krishna happy, like that. So this is what we should be occupying our mind, not all the likes and dislikes of this world. I like this food, I don't like this food. I like these clothes, I don't like these clothes. I like this house, I don't like this house. I like these people, I don't like these people. I love this animals, I hate those animals. Anything you're doing like that, your mind is in the world and you have to take birth again. And also, if you're carrying around in your mind angry, thoughts of hatred, thoughts of not liking and envy and all these things, and resentment in our mind, then we're going to become like that. That very thing you don't like in them, say that they're an angry person or a lusty person or a greedy person, but you're thinking about that, lusty, greedy, angry, you're going to become like that. You're going to become like that. So that very thing you see in that person is going to be transferred to you. So, and that's association. So you're actually associating with that. So, and you're not hurting them by thinking, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. You're hurting yourself more. You're hurting yourself more by carrying around that envy and hatred and that in your heart. They're doing fine. They're not even aware that you hate their guts. But you're carrying that around in your own heart is just hurting yourself. Instead of thinking about Krishna, you're thinking about, I want to strangle this person. So you're just spoiling your own Krishna consciousness. So an advanced devotee just lets go of everything. That's why an important quality of a devotee is forgiveness. This forgiveness is very important.
But it's not so, I mean, if I just describe a scenario, I mean, for me, it's not so clear cut because, for instance, my sister had come to visit, when was that? December or January? Anyway, and there was something that I wanted to discuss with her. And so I brought it up. It was something that she had accused me of. Yeah, she accused me of being a hypocrite, apparently. And then she didn't tell me. She told my husband she told Ben when my father's funeral, father passed away. And he didn't say anything to me. And this was just when we were leaving. She told him. And so when we were coming back or when we got back, then he mentioned it to me. And I said, what? I mean, do you agree with her? Did you ask her why? What? She said, no, nothing. He didn't ask anything. So anyway, then when she came, so I said, I was told that you called me a hypocrite. And she said, I didn't tell anybody. I told you. And I said, no, you didn't. You told my husband, and he's the one who told me. And then I said, I mean, how am I a hypocrite when, because she has this repetitive type of behavior, and she had fought with my father, and then she took the kids and she went and she never brought the kids over, and she didn't visit my father and all that. And my father on many occasions he cried when I visited, and he said, the children, my sister's children, don't know him. He doesn't know them. They're like strangers. I said, Priya, I said, if you say I'm a hypocrite, because apparently I had the night before he passed away, it was the fasting month, and we just went to the corner shop nearby, so Ben could break his fast, and then an old good friend of mine, she wanted to see me, so I said we are going here. So she came, and so we just ate little, together, and talked a little bit, and came back. And so I'm a hypocrite because I was out with my friend on the night before he passed away. I said like how we were going, we wanted to break his fast, and so we just went, and we came back like very quickly, not even 1 hour. There was nothing we could do anyway at that point. There was caregiver and all that. Anyway, so I said, but I mean, if I'm a hypocrite there in that instance, then how about when you never brought the children to see him when he was alive, and hardly ever, and they don't know each other, and he used to cry about it. And I mean, if what is being is hypocritical, how about that? Oh, she took major offense to that. She marched off, she packed her bags, she left. In that instance, I mean, and since then she's disassociated from me in every sense. So it's hard. I mean, how do you draw the line, or how do you do it? It's just so hard. I mean, I don't have anything.
It's easy. You
like,
just
if
you
she
just
comes to me, like,
yeah, you just disassociate, like she
pulled off from me.
disassociated with you.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'll try to talk with her. Yeah.
Why? I mean, I tell you what, it says sometimes our enemy from our past life takes birth in our family to continue the battle. So not necessarily, why do we have to make it that all of our family relationships have to be completely perfect? Why do we think like that? Not necessarily.
My sister.
You're cutting out. Can't hear
You're
you.
cutting out, Deepa. I'm only hearing about half of what you're saying.
Yeah, we can't hear clearly.
The connection's not very good.
As long as a decent connection she got with the Krishna, that all matters.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Got it. No. Very good. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Not your fault. It's not
Yeah,
your
don't worry.
fault. Maybe the internet's some problem there. Maybe other people are using the internet and it's slowing down your connection. I can hardly hear anything now. Your picture's also frozen.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you hardly hear that, Deepa can't hear us either. So I just say we can't hear Deepa.
Yeah, it's completely your connection's completely broken up, Deepa. I can't hear you at all.
But can she hear us?
But
I
yeah,
remember hearing one of the devotees was talking to Prabhupada, and he was whinging about all the other devotees, and he said, what am I going to, he didn't want to be around the devotees, and he said, what am I going to do? And Prabhupada said, well, you tolerate them like I tolerate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good one.
So that's
like
the recommended.
Anyway. Something like that. Yeah.
No, these are the qualities we should be trying to cultivate. Humility, tolerance, forgiveness, compassion. And that'll help us get through all these difficulties in the material world. But it's so important we learn the science of relationships, which is in the scriptures. It gives us knowledge about how to deal with different situations, with different people. How are you supposed to respond in different situations like that, depending on whether they're senior, equal, junior, whether they're family, not family, strangers, whatever like that. What position they have, and because that affects how you deal with the situation on all these different scenarios. Are they older than you? Do they have a bigger position than you? Are they spiritually more senior to you? Like that. So all these different factors, will change, how you deal with that. But it doesn't matter what the situation is, the best support we have is these qualities like humility, tolerance, forgiveness, compassion. Like Lord Chaitanya said, this particular verse we should wear around our neck like our beads. And that's the third verse from Lord Chaitanya's Shiksastaka. Trinadapi sanashena taroriva sushnuna amanina amanidana kirtaniya sadahari. To be more humble than the grass, tolerant than the tree, give all respect to others, don't expect any respect in return. In such a state of mind, one can always chant the holy name of the Lord. So these four, aspects of behavior are so essential if we're going to remain in Krishna consciousness. And we see there's persons that don't remain in Krishna consciousness. And we call it they blooped or whatever like that. So highly likely that the reason why they left Krishna consciousness is because they weren't able to follow those four things. They weren't humble, means they were proud, they're too proud. Or they weren't tolerant enough, so they couldn't tolerate. Or they didn't give respect to others, or they expected respect from others. If we don't follow those things, then it's going to create difficulties, and it's going to be very difficult to maintain our Krishna consciousness. But the real thing is, if we want to be Krishna consciousness, we don't want to be thinking about things that are not related to Krishna. What is it that's not related to Krishna? Actually, everything's related to Krishna. But if in your mind you're thinking there's something that's not related to Krishna, then that's called Maya. What is Maya? It means that which is not. That which is not. You're thinking there's something that's not connected to Krishna. So those kind of thoughts, we should try to avoid that, because that's Maya, and that's not going to be helpful. That's going to bring us more into Maya, more into forgetfulness of Krishna. So, yeah, I mean, we would like to have nice relationships with our family, but why do we stop there? We should have nice relationships with all living entities. I mean, one time Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and it was mostly, a few disciples there, but it was mostly strangers to Prabhupada, definitely not family. There was parents of disciples, there was academic people, all kinds of people. And Prabhupada dealt with every single person so beautifully, and they felt so good with their relationship with Prabhupada, and they're so happy. And afterwards, the devotee commented that, Prabhupada, everyone loves you. And Prabhupada said, yes, because I love everyone. So this is what we want to come to in Krishna consciousness. That even, some of those people might have been meat eaters. Some of those people might have been atheists. They might have so many. And let's face it, it's said in Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. So that means within the family and outside of the family. It's an ocean of faults. We all have so many bad qualities. But it's said in Kali Yuga, there's only one good thing, and that's the chanting of the Lord's holy names. So this is what a devotee focuses on, that we need to focus on our mind on chanting and on talking about Krishna and remembering Krishna. So everything in relationship with Krishna. hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna, talking about Krishna, and like that. This is the super excellent quality of Kali Yuga. That if you do that, if you're Krishna conscious in Kali Yuga, 100% you're going to go back to Godhead. And if you forget Krishna and you just go into all these faults, that they're lusty and they're greedy and they're angry and I hate them and they're good, they're bad, and so many things, then you just lost. Then you just lost in Maya like that. So, I mean, like, like I don't have a relationship pretty much with my parents, or my children like that. So, in once you see my family relationships are terrible. But what to do. But I don't think about it too much. It's not in my hands. It's not in my control. Actually, it says sometimes that Krishna will, if some relationships are becoming obstacles for a devotee in their Krishna consciousness, Krishna might remove those relationships. So a devotee accepts that whatever Krishna arranges is for everyone's best interest. He knows what's best. We have Prahlad, right? Wonderful devotee, but what was his relationship with his father? His father tried to kill him like that. So, we had the Pandavas, right? This whole Bhagavad Gita, right? The Pandavas, all their uncles and nephews and everything wanted to kill them. And was so political that took away their kingdom. Duryodhan, who's, like a cousin of Yudhisthira and the other Pandavas, said, I'm not going to give you enough land to put on the head of a pin to live on. He wanted them to die. They tried to burn their house while they're in their house, the house of Lac, and try to poison Bhima and everything like that. And always so much intrigue and politics trying to kill them and their family members. But that's what you can expect in the material world, especially in Kali Yuga. Especially in Kali Yuga. I'll tell you what, I'll let you in a little secret. Most families in Kali Yuga, they can't wait for the oldies to die because the young ones want to get the inheritance. And mostly it's like that. I heard someone tell me that recently. Someone was saying that, such and such, their kids were just waiting for the old geezer to kick the bucket so they could get them. They were not devotees. Hopefully devotees are a bit more refined than that. But they were saying like that. We can't wait for the old geezer to kick the bucket so we can get the inheritance, So, there's not much real love. Prabhupada said there's no real love in the material world, like that. Because it's all just on the bodily platform. Then no one is saying, oh, you're a soul. Oh, you're a soul. You're part of God. Hardly anyone sees like that. They just see you as a body. And then, and Prabhupada made the point. So, oh, my dad died. Oh, she's gone. My dad's gone. But no, Prabhupada pointed out, but they're not gone. Look, it's right there in the coffin, right there. It's right there in the coffin. It's not gone. No, they're gone. They're gone. My dad's gone. So what does that tell you? Prabhupada said, we've never actually seen our father. We've never actually seen the father. The father's body is right there. We've seen the whole life. But we have never actually seen the father. But interestingly, intuitively at the time of death, we realize intuitively at the time of death that the person is gone. The body is not gone. The body is there in the coffin. But we say, Dad, my mum's gone. She's gone. Well, where? No, they're not gone. They're right there. No, but we know that they're actually gone because actually the soul is gone. But we never actually really knew the real person. We never actually really knew the real person. We're just always focused on the body. And it's interesting, huh? We just trying to see things in a more deeper way. Krishna consciousness is so deep. A lot of these things we never think about, is it? But Prabhupada, he awakens our consciousness. Yeah, why do we say it that when someone dies that they've gone?
But how would we associate with the soul of the person when they're alive? We only have means of associating
No,
based on
the
the
five of
body.
us, are having spiritual association right now. You know, because as soon as you bring God in the middle of the relationship, then that means you're acting as a soul, and you're dealing with other souls. Yeah. As soon as you do that's that's a spiritual relationship. That's a spiritual activity. Because I'm not, as soon as you engage in the 9 processes of devotional service, you're hearing about God, talking about God, remembering God, you know, worshiping God, all these kind of things, serving God, then you do that. That's the activities of the soul. That's not the activities of the body. Of course, we're doing those activities through the body, but who's doing it through the body? The soul's doing it. So the soul's awake now. Now the soul's awake. What do you call it if the soul's awake? We call it Krishna conscious. So when the soul is Krishna conscious, the soul is awake. Before, the soul was sleeping. That's why Lord Chaitanya, he would walk through Mayapur early in the morning saying, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole, Kota Nidra Jayo Maya, Pisachia Kole. That wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up, sleeping souls. Jeev Jago. Jago means wake up. Jiva means soul. You know, because they're asleep. Kota Nidra Jayo Maya. So Nidra means sleeping. And Jayanti's the linguistic scholar. She always points out when my pronunciation's not 100% perfect. It's only 90% perfect, but it has to be 100% perfect. And then because Nidra, we're asleep. You know, the soul is asleep. So, but when you become Krishna conscious, it means the soul is awake. And because the soul's awake, so we talk about God. We're hearing about God. So that's what we're doing now. You know, we're talking about God, you're hearing about God like that. So this is a spiritual connection. This is a spiritual relationship. We're not dealing with each other like we're bodies anymore. We're dealing with each other like we're souls, which is what we are. But we're using the body, you know, like I'm using my tongue to talk to you about God, and you're using your ears to hear about God. So we're using the senses, but it's the soul using the senses rather than Maya controlling the senses, you know. And you're hearing about some Hollywood, Bollywood rubbish, or, you know, this nonsense stuff, or eating McDonald's or whatever. So no, we eat prasadam. If you eat prasadam, it means you're acting as a soul. If you just eat McDonald's or whatever, you're acting as a body like that. So if you hear the Ozzy Osbourne, did you hear that Ozzy Osbourne just died? I saw the post. If you go to the Ozzy Osbourne and you hear from Ozzy Osbourne, who's a heavy metal, he was 77 years old when he died. But so then you're acting as a body, you know, just hearing him crash and bang heavy metal stuff like that. It said that I saw one devotee posted that he had sex with about 10,000 women.
Is it all?
I don't know who was keeping track. Maybe that's just an approximation. Yeah, they probably didn't know exactly. Might have been 20,000. But yeah, and the devotee said his next birth is in hell. His next birth is in hell.
Now his next birth will be a prostitute.
No, well, first of all, before he gets the hot prostitute birth, he has to go to hell for a while.
Oh, okay.
It says if you do that, illicit sex, then, and there's one particular hellish, there's many hellish planets. So the one particular one to deal with someone like that is they have a iron hot form of a woman, like burning hot metal form of a woman, and you're forced to embrace that woman. So in the hellish planet, and you're in your subtle body there. You're not a gross physical body, you're in your subtle body. So in that subtle body, you're forced to embrace that burning hot form of a metal woman like that and just tortured. You're just tortured. So just punished there. And then eventually, yeah, he might take birth as a prostitute or something. But yeah, very degraded. But other people will glorify him. Materially, people will be glorifying him like that. So yeah, you can have spiritual relationships even in this world. Even in this world. It was far out. I read in this book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. It was saying that Krishna's pastimes with the devotees in the material world are almost identical to Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. I hadn't really thought about that before, but I was blown away by that. That's amazing. That's almost identical, the relationships that Krishna has with the devotees in the material world. So you can have spiritual relationships in the material world, definitely. And it was interesting. It was saying that even in the spiritual world, Krishna acts just like he does in the material world, like as a cowherd boy or a kshatriya. Because in the material world, right, we have kshatriyas. They're like the warriors that protect society, right? And in the and we have vaishyas. They like protect cows and milk the cows and make dairy products and sell that for profit and stuff like that to make a living. They make a living from selling the dairy products like that. But yeah, I was thinking about that. Then I read that it's saying that Krishna still acts like a kshatriya or a vaishya in the spiritual world. And I was thinking, but why would Krishna act as a kshatriya in the spiritual world? Because there's no one to fight. There's no enemies. There's no enemies there. There's no demons to fight. But yeah, Krishna, he'll still act. There's one place in the spiritual world where he still acts as a king like that. And it was mentioned that he still acts like that just to please his devotees. Because there's devotees in the spiritual world. Bhakti Mother's just saying she had to go. There's devotees in the spiritual world that want to reciprocate with him in that way, that want to have, Krishna is their king. Krishna's their king and he's, protecting them in that. Otherwise, what's going to happen to that relationship? You want to be protected by Krishna and everything like that. So he'll just continue that mood in the spiritual world, even though in one sense you don't need protection because you have a spiritual body that's not going to die and there's no demons there. But still that mood is there. Still Krishna keeps that mood that I'm protecting the devotees and everything like that. And it's just so loving. Krishna's just so loving. He'll just do whatever it takes to create that nice relationship there. Because that's the main thing that Krishna wants is all these loving relationships. And that's what we're yearning for in our hearts too, is loving relationships. So we have to, detach ourselves from all these just bodily ideas about relationships and make our relationships more on the spiritual platform, and that will satisfy us. That will satisfy us more. Does anyone want to say anything?
One.
Yeah, we want to be thinking more and more about Krishna and going back to the spiritual world. And less about, oh, I like this and I don't like that, and I like them and I don't like them. That means we have to come back here again. So we need to change that way we think. That's why, like I said, forgiveness is very important.
I couldn't have any such conversation with anyone in my family except for one auntie who is also now lately she started, she's been reading the Bhagavad Gita and she's going to classes and things like this. But other than her, it's no one. We can't talk.
But yeah, Deepa, you need a
friends.
Yeah, but Deepa, you need a paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is we have a spiritual family. Forget about the material family.
That's true.
I mean, don't forget about it, but we have that. But the real thing is the spiritual family. So like-minded souls that all like to come together to talk about God and hear about God. So that, and like we had that, like on Friday night at the Bhakti Tree, right? That's like spiritual family. That's, 120 people in the room.
Totally.
That was one big family, and that's a fact. And I'll debate that with anyone. That was a family. That was a family. We'd all come together to glorify Krishna, and and eat Krishna's food together and everything like that. That's the real family. That's spiritual family.
It reminds
True.
It was like even if you had differences or whatever, it was like Friday nights, everybody would forget their differences and have fun, isn't it? It was like that.
It was magical. No, don't talk about that. I tell you, I've got such withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, because that's you're missing that spiritual family. That's good. Krishna will be pleased that you feel separation from that. But that's the spiritual family. That's what we want to be thinking about, that more, rather than, I don't get on with my mum and dad. I don't get on with my aunties and nephews. Who cares? That doesn't matter. That's all bodily stuff. They could have been like I said, our enemies from our past life come to get us back. So we don't want to be thinking about that. We should be thinking about, persons that we can be enjoying, discussing about God together. And that's the real satisfaction for the heart. And we still have to do our duty, with our families. As long as we've got young kids, we have to protect them and educate them. And we've got old parents, we have to look after them, like Jayanti's looking after old parents. But I mean, it's a little bit special also with Jayanti's case because they're also, initiated devotees, her parents. They all have the same guru and that. So they have a material relationship and a spiritual relationship. So she's lucky with her parents, both materially and spiritually. There's a relationship there. So yeah, we still have to do our duties, but our ultimate duty is to develop these spiritual connections with Krishna and then with each other. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Okay, well, lovely to spend time with you all again. And
I was talking with Bhaktimala and Premila and what's her name?